Natascha and Allegra simultaneously right here. We are simulcasting on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook all at once. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
We're so glad that you're here with us. We're here every Thursday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And we're just chatting live. We're chatting about what's going on in our world, what's going on in your world, hopefully. And also just talking about things, all things having to do with planning, parenting, and just generally helping you prioritize yourself, hopefully save you some time, and help you achieve your goals.
Yes. So I'm Allegra, and Natasha and I together are Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. And if you didn't know, by the way, we always publish the audio only of this as our weekly podcast, Harness the Power of Planning. So you can also check us out there. And if it's your first time joining us, we also are authors. I'm going to hold up our lovely bouquet of books. Here you go. There they are. They make great gifts. They're short reads and they're actionable because Natasha and I shouldn't speak for Natasha. One of my pet peeves is reading a book that only talks about the problems. And you think to yourself, yeah, I know that's a problem. What's the solution? We are all about solutions.
Yes. So. That's really, it is about like, and since these days, like I mostly listen to books and don't really, do hard copy books, which we definitely recommend that of course you can get this digitally, you can get it a hard copy, but, putting pen to paper and those books where, like 3/4 of it is just defining the problem. And then like a quarter of it is like giving you the solution. And you're like, I have to pause my listening and sit down and do the exercises. So we're just like, let's just cut to the chase and get you into a workbook, which is really the best way to do it. And because putting pen to paper, that's
right. So it's their workbook. So for those of you listening to the podcast, I'm holding up the book and showing that they're less than an hour read. They're about 70 pages. They are workbooks. So we have you do the thing that we're talking about, whether it's the 3 tips to slay your to-do list or the way to make self-care a habit by having a morning ritual.
That's right.
So as usual, we start with a little bit of chit chat about what's going on. And right now I am super frustrated about an appliance. I'm not gonna name names, but there's an appliance.
I think you should let the world know in case somebody's out there considering purchasing a major appliance.
All I will say is that if you are buying an appliance for your kitchen that takes up a lot of room
and vertical space.
Yes, a lot of vertical space.
Yeah.
You might want to do a search on if there are any pending or have been pending class action lawsuits
against
That's all I'm going to say. And
okay, that's very judicious of you. I like that. That was very
yes. Yeah. And and the reason why I'm frustrated is because not only do I feel like this company is selling knowingly defective machines, because this issue goes back at least 7 years. I've only owned my machine a little over 2 years. Mm-hmm. So there are many years for them to know that this is an issue. However, I'm also upset with the retailer. That is a big box store that I'm sure you have in your hometown.
Mm-hmm.
A store that we all know and trust to kind of do the work for us, because I don't know about you, but I am not a home appliance expert. Are you a home appliance expert, Natasha?
I'm not. And I do pay an annual membership to a trusted retailer.
Exactly.
That has an excellent return policy for just this type of thing.
Exactly. And so when a very expensive appliance stops working 2 months after the 2-year warranty, and then the retailer suggests, hey, what credit card did you buy that with? Maybe you can get a refund from there. It just makes me feel very suspicious that, oh, and by the way, this appliance is no longer being sold by them. So,
oh, for real? I didn't know that part.
It's no longer being sold by them. So it definitely felt like, and by the way, I mean, I could go into great detail, but this is not the appliance I originally wanted. The appliance I originally wanted was damaged en route twice, no pictures, No phone. In fact, there were no phone calls. I literally waited all day long, and it's the end of the day, and I called them, and they said, "Oh, there's some notes here that say it was damaged en route." I was like, "How was it damaged?" "Oh, I don't know. There's no pictures or any description." And that happened twice. And
Mhm.
again, this was all during, the height of, like, supply chain, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
So they offered me an upgrade to what I now know is a machine that has a known defect. So I'm like, this feels a
Thanks for
lot
the
like
upgrade.
yeah, this feels a lot like, let's move out these back stock that we have.
Mhm.
It feels very suspicious, and it
Right.
feels like the retailer and the manufacturer are trying to, like, give it, "Hey, Visa and Mastercard, you might be getting played, dude." Like like they're trying to pass their liability on to the credit card companies, which then affects all of us, right? Because
Right.
the credit card companies then have to boost their interest rates to pay for all of this.
All
So
these
it's like this
returns. Yeah.
it's this vicious cycle, and I'm like, "No, no, no. You all knowingly." So anyway, as you can tell, I'm quite worked up. And it was interesting because, we're parents, and Natasha and I are parents,
But
and
understandably, because
yes,
like,
understandably worked up because,
yeah.
people have been getting sick because of these defective machines
No
because
way.
the appliance is supposed to hold the food at a healthy temperature.
Right. Of course. Mm.
Yeah. So anyway, so here's the thing. My child was like, "Mom, hey, you're getting, like, really worked up about this. Like, why is it such a big deal?" And I was like, "Daughter of mine, you have to, unfortunately, stand up for yourself in these regards
Yeah.
because, honestly, these companies get so big, and there are documented cases of companies like, crunching the numbers, saying, "Well, this many lawsuits will cost us this
Mhm.
much money. Oh, but we can still make more money selling the product, so let's go forward," right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
that
it'll cost us less to go forward with the defective product and deal
yes.
with that than it would for us to shift and, rejigger our manufacturing process, or go ahead and do the right thing and replace it. you know.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
But when you're playing with people's health, you are really, like, this
Mhm.
is not like a nice to have. This is a health issue.
Yes. This is it's yeah, this is not
So
cool.
anyway, so I'm teaching my daughter, she's getting to hear all the words I'm using. She's getting to hear me say, "Okay, and what's your name?" Okay, yeah, you can't give me your last name. Okay, but you're gonna send me an email with how I can contact you. Okay, great. And this will be in my case file. Okay. And I just want to verify that you're telling me blah 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 blah. So she's saying me take all the notes, do all the things that you have to do in order to make sure that you get your investment of, thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And like, I think that sometimes you really have to get angry to get things done. But also, like, or just, I mean, following up,
You
and
have to just keep following up,
Mhm.
keep following up.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, but I mean, this is a much like, now that I'm plugged into the fact that this is a much bigger issue, this is not I mean, 7 years, 7 years.
Mhm. Yeah,
This is
so
not
if you're looking for an appliance, just all you have to do is Google.
I
Google, kitchen appliance, class action suits. I bet you it's gonna be one of the top ones that
yes,
pops up.
it'll be one of the top ones, and I'm so disappointed because, I read a great quote the other day that was something like, "I'm not mad that you lied at me. I'm mad that I can never trust another word that comes out of your mouth again." And that's how I feel about this retailer.
Mhm. Oh,
This
wow.
re
Yeah, that's
this
deep.
ret this
That's
retailer that I've shopped with for decades,
Mhm.
that has always had a really good reputation, they've now just totally tarnished their reputation because of the way that they're trying to eschew any responsibility when I'm like, "This is not the machine I wanted. You forced this machine on me, and now 2 months out of the warranty?"
Yeah, I don't know
There's
what goes on with the big box, because I think around that same time that you were it might have been not exactly the same, but I was getting a large appliance, and they attempted to deliver 3 times. 2 of those 3 times were damaged, and, like, and they hadn't even really taken it off the truck. One time the guy didn't even come into my complex, he just sent me a picture like, oh, it got damaged. We did not even coming into your complex. Look. And he sent a picture. And I was like, what's really funny is that both of these machines, they were dryers. I'm like, it's so funny that they're damaged in the exact same place. So you're telling me that as you were taking it off the truck, it got damaged, or it got damaged when it went on the truck? I was like, they got it damaged in the exact same place. I'm like, is there something wrong with the boxes that it comes in, that that they're consistently getting damaged in like the exact same way? It wasn't the same picture, but it was like the same spot, you know?
Right.
Like, oh, I don't know. Well, we'll take delivery. And if it wasn't in this corner, because I was stacking the washer and dryer, and I might have just said like, just deliver it. I don't care. Like if it was just like, because it was just like a dent at the corner, but because it was stacked, I wanted it to be not dented, right?
Uh-huh.
But I think there's something up with like the delivery company, because it wasn't, I ordered this also from a big box store, and it wasn't their delivery person. It was like a third party.
Right. It was a third party. Same here.
And I was like, do these guys get paid whether or not they deliver it? Like if they just show that they came to your address and that you then denied the delivery because of the damage, and you know what I mean? Like, there's something going on where they can
my
like,
thing, they never
they
got
can
to
get
me.
paid 3 times for delivering
Right.
it once, and they don't have
That's
to
a good question.
actually do it. And I eventually just canceled it. I was like, and then I just went directly to the manufacturer, and lo and behold, it came the first time. It wasn't damaged. It was
That's
not
an
a
excellent
problem.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was not a problem. I just wonder if like when you have, I just went directly to the manufacturer. I went straight to Maytag, just ordered it from them. It was, I don't think it was even more expensive. I can't remember, but it was definitely worth doing it that way because I actually got it. It actually made its way into my house. Yeah, which
Yeah.
so
Well, and so, I mean, mine was also third party delivery, but it was not, they never came to my house. Like I said, they never even contacted me. I had to call and say, hey, so and so, I'm supposed to get delivery today, and it's 5 p.m. No one's called. No one. And they're like, oh, the notes here say it was damaged. I was like, where? What? Oh, we don't know. So, I don't know. Again, like part of me is like, this was again during the height of the whole supply chain. Like,
so do they
was
say
that
it's
appliance
damaged?
getting? Yeah.
So they
Was
can
that
give you
appliance
the
getting sold?
overstock. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. So either one, was that appliance getting like sold, off the back of the truck and they were making money that way? Or was this all like, let's get her into the overstock that we know is defective, but we've run the numbers. So anyway, all of this is to say, it's not good for us. It like the stress, the like lack of productivity with having to deal with this. Like, this is an appliance you should not have to buy more than once every like 10 years.
Right.
The
Right.
fact that I'm having to deal with this 2 years after the fact, after that whole, like 120-day fiasco of trying to get it for the first time. Like, that's frustrating. But then also, this is not good for the planet. Like, these things need to last. They need to be repairable. Like, we need to hold these companies accountable for the crappy products they're making, because it's a pain in the butt for our lives and it's bad for the environment. So that is the chit chat of what is going on in my life.
To blow off your steam, and hopefully this is we lost your camera. But hopefully this is a cautionary tale for any of you out there, ordering appliances. Allegra's recommendation is Google first. Is any clash action laws going to be, that you're looking at, the brand you're looking at? And my suggestion is go straight to the manufacturer and don't deal with the third party delivery stuff, because it literally took like it was literally like 7 to 8 days after it was supposed to have been in my house. And at that point, and by the way, this is laundry, right? So I was wound up having to like, laundry was piling up. I was doing my laundry at my neighbor's because
I remember that.
Yeah, I had sold my dryer because I was like, oh, well, let me get rid of it. I've got it. I'll sell it. And we're gonna get this. The other one's coming in tomorrow.
Right. Because you have to like make space. Otherwise you get charged for them moving things, right?
Yeah.
So then you're without for a certain amount of time. So anyway, and also our other tips for you is like document everything. Take notes, get the people's names, ask them to spell it, and model this for your kids so that they can know how to have a productive confrontation with big business. Because
and the thing is, like,
it's going to happen.
And unfortunately, this happens in healthcare. Like, I have a friend whose mother needed a lot of care, and she was thank goodness, like a bulldog with just like making sure her mom got the care that she needed, dealing with the insurance companies because they do not want to pay you. They want to hold on to every single dime they
Yeah.
possibly can. And so, this is a good thing to model to your kids and being really effective about it too. Like, you make a really good point, Allegra, about taking notes, right? Because I know I've gone like, okay, great. They give you a case number, maybe I jot that down, right? But I have not really ever taken really good notes about it. And then you get another person who doesn't know your case. You want to re-explain. You're like, isn't this in the notes in your thing? Oh, well, blah blah blah. But if you come with receipts, like I talked to Joe at this time on blah blah blah,
Yeah.
it's wildly different. And you know how many times you've called a place where you get one story from one person and one story from somebody else, and oh, you have to do this, 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 and this, and then you go to talk to the next person, like, oh no, you have to do this, 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 and this, and you're just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
They intentionally make it confusing. So it is a really good thing to model to your kids, and it's going to come in handy in probably even more like, unfortunately, potentially life-threatening situations like dealing with health insurance.
Yeah, and I mean, this is why, look, let's empower our kids to change the system, because I think we've all been seeing the fact that insurance for profit doesn't work.
Mm,
These products that are built with planned obsolescence does not work. We
oh,
don't have the resources to keep producing like this. And so,
yeah,
we need to teach our kids this, because they're unfortunately going to be inheriting
right.
all of the problems from the last couple generations.
I remember when my parents finally like remodeled their kitchen. I was probably like 13, 14 years old, which means we had been living in that house for that long. Plus, the previous owners, there was their fridge, because I remember, because all of the appliances were avocado green. So
Mhm.
you can guess what decade we moved into that house. But that all those appliances been in that house for who knows how much longer before.
Yeah,
So let's say 20 years before my
yeah,
parents, and that refrigerator was still going strong. Like, the only reason they got rid of it is because they changed, the whole aesthetic of the kitchen. But that thing was not on its last legs by any stretch.
no. And
Mhm.
I had one of those fridges. I purchased my first apartment, I purchased a used fridge for $100. And later on, when I looked to see the age of my fridge, I entered the serial number and I was like, "Oh my god, like I bought a fridge that was like 15 years old." And
Right.
I'd had it like another 15 years. So it was like 30
Wow.
years old. It was
Mhm.
totally working. But yeah, I was using a lot of energy.
Right.
Like literally I cut
Totally.
my
Yeah.
energy bill in half
Right.
when I
On the energy side, like, the technology for refrigeration is pretty much the same as it's always been, right? That's not the new part. It's how much energy it uses and that kind of thing. That
yes.
would be the only reason. But the technology of keeping,
Right.
making those coils cold, like, that's been around for a hot second. So
Yeah.
so this is why they're just keep, like, like, you can have a computer on your fridge. You can open this door and that door, and like, you can send a
Yeah.
text message to your fridge and find out if you have how much milk you have
I'm like,
left. You know what I mean?
"No, I wanna
You
keep
know,
it, I just want things to keep
keep it
cold."
simple. Keep my food cold, yo.
Yeah.
Keep me from getting food poisoning.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So anyway, so our topic today is rebuilding your life once your kids get to the point where they're a little more independent. And by a little more independent, we're saying 5 plus. If you have a child under 5, let me just tell you, 5, wow, what a difference. What a
Mhm.
difference.
Mhm.
And when my child hit 5, that was when I really felt like I had some space to be honest about the fact that I was not happy. I really remember the fact that I felt like I was doing everything and nothing well. So,
Mhm.
I was running my
Mhm.
business, I was just starting to homeschool my child. We had a fur baby who, like, poor thing, was like, was low person on the totem pole at that point. You know,
Yeah. Poor baby.
all of the things, and like my own health. Like, I am generally a very upbeat person. And I think part of it is, nature, but also part of it is life choices. I was not a happy person then. And I've had 2 bouts with, like, tiptoeing up to the edge of depression. One before I became a mom, and then this one, and I was like, "Oh, I remember this feeling. I remember what this feels like." And I remember, Like, I don't wanna be here anymore. So, I literally had said to my husband, like, "I don't feel like myself." Like, I know that sounds so, like, esoteric. Like, what does that mean? Like, I don't know. I just knew I did not feel like myself.
Yeah.
And now that I am, 9 years past that point, I can tell you that I did feel like I had to rebuild my life after that intense 0 to 5 period. Uh, Natasha, you?
Yeah,
What
I
was
mean, I think I've shared, if you've been with us before, I have shared that like I 100% looking back, this is with 2020 vision. After my second son, I was definitely in some kind of low level postpartum depression, which I encourage you, if you don't feel like yourself, don't ignore that. Don't just say it's something that you're gonna, especially if it's like, many days on week out of the week on end, right? So like, because in that time, like, of course I was a new mom now to two, right? So it's different, but and so of
Oy.
course there's beautiful, yeah, beautiful moments of just like, those parts of parenthood that, I'm having those, but I'm having also a lot of hard days. And I just kind of was like chalking it up to like a lot of hard days. It was a different experience than when I had my first kid, but I think that also was just because of the demands on me were wildly different. Anyway, if you're not feeling like yourself, if you're feeling like that low level, I don't feel like myself, or most days feel gray, or days feel like I'm just getting by, take stock, like take a moment and just recognize that might, something might be going on with you, and you can go and seek some help, which I
Yes.
didn't do for forever. I just kept thinking like, oh, I just got to get through this day, or I can pull myself up by my bootstraps. And if I just did a little more exercise, which I didn't have the bandwidth to do at the time, then I'd feel better and stuff. And all of that might have been true to some degree, but the key component is I wasn't able to do it, right? I didn't do it, right? So, and it literally took, we just talking about once your kids are out of that five, it took till my kid was the younger one was about 5, which means the older one was 7, where I
Right.
was like, holy moly, these last 5 years, not only, yes, they've been challenging because, human beings, you're taking care of them, but also just
Keeping humans alive.
keeping humans alive are challenging. But I also like, it took me 5 years to kind of like pull the cobwebs back and be like, wow, I really feel like I feel like I'm depressed. So it took a while though for me to
Yeah.
even a acknowledge it, and b then like do something about it. In that case, I started going to a therapist, and that for sure helped. And there are other things operating here. We're not here to talk about mental health per se, because we're not doctors or anything. We're just talking about our personal experiences. But when you come out of that 5-year fog, um, and do check in with yourself and see if it's more than just the regular stressors of parenting, which is a lot.
Yes, a lot.
I definitely was kind of like, okay, so now both of one's in kinder or first grade, one's in preschool. Got a little bit of time, not ton, little
Yeah.
bit more time around, and still working from home and that kind of thing. So all of a sudden things open up a little bit, not a ton at
Yes.
that point, but at that point, yeah, it's like I'm I'm not having to keep those humans alive in the same way that I had to in the
Yes.
5 years previously, with that super intensity. And so, you kind of emerge from that. And whether you work in the home or out of the home, that definitely feels like a milestone of some kind, or like a marker at least of like, okay, I've made it through these woods, and now what?
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a huge shift in terms of how much they need. And so Natasha and I, again, looking back, we realized that's just like a normal shift that happens around that age. And that really your child turning 5 is this amazing opportunity for you to reevaluate who you are as a mother, who you are as a person, who you
Mhm.
are as you, and to figure that out, to make changes. I know that becoming a mother was a transformational experience for me in terms of my profession. Like, I suddenly at the time, I had owned a store called Green and Greener. It sold all sustainable products, and I was talking almost exclusively about sustainability. And while I still care about that and I still talk about it, my my struggle, like, I've never felt as disenfranchised in my life, and, I'm a woman of color, I'm a woman of color with an advanced degree in a very male-dominated subject. I went to business school. There was 1 woman for every 11 men at my business school, and that was a business school in Los Angeles.
Right. So
So
definitely a diverse population.
yeah.
Plus, like not only that, one woman for every 11, and you being a woman of color, right? Not
Yeah.
not a white person,
No, no,
even less.
I was, like, another woman of color, in the program with me. We once did the math on, like, what percentage of the population we were, and we're like, "We don't even exist, we're not even a whole person in terms of the
You're like,
percentages."
yeah. Oh
We're
my
like
God.
dust.
Hmm.
And so, I've been in environments where I am the minority of the minorities of the minorities, and I've never felt as disenfranchised as I felt when I became a mom because, we're one of only 2 industrialized countries without federal paid leave. Many of us are raising our kids without the support of an extended family,
Hmm.
and I it and if we don't have the opportunity and the bandwidth to raise our children so that they're good people, how do we expect our country and our planet to thrive? You know?
These
And
are
so
these are good questions.
yeah, so, like, as a sustainability expert, I was like, the most sustainable thing I can do is to help moms and help kids to become the best people that they can be so that they can make good choices. So this massive shift in my career, right? It was like starting all over, but it was where my heart was. It was where I wanted to be. And so, you might not have this huge professional shift like I did, which,
Hmm.
I don't recommend it. It's not it's not the best thing to do for your pocketbook, let me tell you. But, what I will say is that, you have an opportunity to figure out what it is that you wanna do for the rest of your life. And July, which I'm so curious, we need to look into so July is actually National Rebuild Your Life Month.
Yeah.
And Natasha and I, when we saw that, we were like, yes, that's exactly what it feels like when your kiddo hits 5 and you're like, what the heck am I doing with
Re
myself? Who
Yeah.
am I even anymore?
Right, right, right. Seriously. Yeah, rebuild your life. I like reboot, rebuild. And because yeah, it does
Rebrand.
feel like rebrand, right? Yeah, exactly. Rebrand. Look at my rebranding. Um as a parent with with kids over 5, my
Yeah.
rebranding.
Yeah.
Um yeah, like what does that look like? Now, it doesn't have to be obviously a complete 180 from where you are, but what parts of your life have you kind of put on hold? It's a whole new identity becoming a parent, right?
Yeah.
And so I know that especially women, I feel like, struggle with, okay, you can get lost inside that identity of being a mother, and by the way, great identity to have. I'm not knocking that. I don't mean that, but I mean, but when they need you less, suddenly you're seeing a window into the future, because if we've done our job right, eventually they will not need us like at all. Really, they'll be capable adults and so forth. So it's good to start thinking about it in terms of who am I outside of that one identity. We're not usually just one thing, right? We wear multiple hats, and I don't just mean the jobs that we have, the
Right.
hat, chauffeur, chef,
Yeah.
whatever else you do professionally, right? Um, but you're looking at your identity a little more holistically, in that, who else is it that you want to show up as outside of just mother?
Yeah. And are you the person you wanna be?
Right. And here's the thing too. And we're not advocating for, like, you must have it all, like, because that's a whole nother fallacy that was, I think, shoved down our throats. Especially, I just remember being a kid and, like, looking, like, that brand of feminism at that time was like, you should be able to work your 40 hours and come home and cook for your family and blah 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 and have it all. I'm thinking of if you're a musical theater head, I'm thinking of the song "I Want It All" from the musical Baby. And I
Oh,
remember
I don't
singing
know
that.
that song.
Oh yeah, it's a trio of women who have all different parts of their life, and they're all pregnant, right? And they're talking about how they
Oh,
want it all, right? They want to be
yeah,
able to have a high powered career and be a mom, like,
yeah,
bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, all that kind of stuff, right? So we're not advocating for like you must do everything, right? Like, so being a mother is not enough. That's not what we're saying.
no,
But we
not
are
at all.
saying like we're looking at this through the lens of prioritizing yourself, right? You've been prioritizing your kids for the last 5 years or more, prioritizing yourself. This is not about like, I heard this book recently where they're just like, oh, this idea of women having it all really kind of helped the patriarchy in the end, where it was like, oh, you're going to liberate yourself outside of the home. But now it's like, and you see all these tons of articles now, right, about like how the uneven distribution of housework occurs, right? And so women work outside the home and still do more than 50% of the work at home,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. And so lo and behold, the patriarchy is like, yes, we win.
yeah.
She's bringing in income and she's still doing all the work at home. So we're definitely not advocating for being a mother is not enough. Okay. And we're definitely not advocating for, or we're not saying do more,
Yeah. No, we're
have
just
it
saying
all.
if a little voice inside you is saying, mm, I'm not happy, or I don't feel like myself, or
Right.
I
Or,
feel like I need to carve out a niche for just me.
mm-hmm,
We're just saying, listen to that voice. Because here's the
mm-hmm.
thing, that voice is not going to leave you alone.
It's not going to leave you alone. Yeah. And it's for sure. It's not. And even that little, it could be just a small little voice of like,
Yeah.
well, what else? What next? What else?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
thinking,
So,
thinking of life as an and as opposed to an or,
oh
right?
no, I pulled out the cable on accident.
Oh no.
Whoopsie. It won't affect anyone on the podcast, that's for sure. So anyway, all of this is to say that Natasha and I have actually been working on something that we're super excited about, because we're all about, like, in our journey to rebuild our lives once our kids were kind of 5 plus, we have discovered tools that work for us. And we're also constantly on the lookout for tools that we can use, because you never know what life's going to throw at you. And so we are putting together in July 28th, which is National Rebuild Your Life Month, and July 28th is also National Parents Day. We are
Bam.
putting on, yeah, bam, bam. We are putting on an event called Mama Self-Love Bootcamp, because Mama, you deserve all the self-love you can give yourself.
Self-love, self-care. And we're talking about self-love, not in that kind of like, just like, oh, I love myself. Like the idea of like wrapping your brain around the idea of self-love as almost like a radical act, in that you are really putting yourself first, and in a way that free of guilt, free of judgment, and,
Mhm.
and allowing yourself to really, really, truly love yourself through, self-love, self-care. And we're talking about self-care on like a really, like foundational level,
Yes,
not just
like on a
massage.
cellular
Great.
level.
Cellular level. Great. I love that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
and we have some, because it's not just about loving up yourself, sometimes it's also about releasing things. So, like, we
mm-hmm.
have an amazing, Polynesian dancer who
Mm-hmm.
uses the medicine of dance to release trauma. Because you can't really, you
Amazing.
can't
Yeah.
really heal until you've released.
I'm just
And
putting up a QR code for, to go ahead and get to our website where you can register.
yeah, and we have an early bird code. So, first of all, Mama Self-Love Bootcamp is gonna be a virtual event, so you can attend wherever you are. It's a half day, but it's not a sit behind your desk event. This is an event that we're actually gonna encourage people to do on their mobile devices, so that they can move, so they can do the Polynesian dance, so that they can do some of the physical activities that we're gonna have them doing. And we're also all about the quick win. So we're going to have 3, maybe 4. We're working
Mhm.
on the 4th, quick win experts, to give you these tips, these tools on how to bring more self-love into your life. And so, you know, I'm all about the quick win. Like, we're all about, our books are all about Well, quick wins in terms of little things you can do every day. And so, yeah, so join us for Mama Self-Love Bootcamp. It's a great Mother's Day gift for yourself or for another mama that you know. And we have a special, it's $49 for the day. And we have a special 50% off early bird code. And the code is EB50OFF.
EB50OFF, which I'm going to just put in here in a second.
Wonderful. So, yeah, so join us for National Rebuild Your Life Month and National Parents Day, and come get some new tools for how to prioritize yourself, because you deserve the self-love. You are leading the next generation. And if we don't lead with self-love, then how will our children know that they deserve all the self-love that they can give themselves? So, do it for
100%.
yourself. Do it for the people in your family that you can pass this lesson on to through modeling. And we would love to see you at Mama Self-Love Bootcamp.
We would love to see you there. And if you know a mama, this is an amazing Mother's Day gift, right? So it's with 50% off right now. EB50OFF. It's a really thoughtful Mother's Day gift. It's one where, and by the way, if you're going to give it as a gift, make sure you also give the gift of taking care of the childcare so that they really truly have the time to show up and be present and increase their self-love.
So thanks for joining us this week. A little bit longer episode than usual because the rant needed it.
Yeah, seriously, those retailers.
Yes, we got to keep them accountable, man. Keep them accountable.
Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you back here on Thursday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, for a live chat with Natascha and Allegra.
Dream wild.